Welcome to Module 7 of TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway Training and Guide. On this module, SIP transfer mechanism will be covered. As part of this training guide, and after just have gone through HTTP transfer mechanism, we need to cover up the SIP transfer mechanism of TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway. HTTP and SIP transfer mechanisms complement each other for providing TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway its capability to interact with all IP networks and web or mobile-based applications. TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway supports implementation of Session Initiation Protocol or SIP for carrying USSD operations over IP Multimedia Core Network Subsystem or IMS, as for 3GPP TS 24.390, also known as USSI or USSD for the IMS. TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway can therefore be easily integrated with TelScale Enterprise RESTCOM to enable web developers to rapidly build voice, video, WebRTC, USSD, SMS, fax, and rich messaging applications. It also can interact with any SIP application server following 3GPP TS 24.390 guidelines. Likewise, it is enabled to interact in heterogeneous network environments, either for legacy or next generation networks like the IMS or LTE. On this network topology diagram example, we can see how TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway interacts either with legacy circuit switch mobile core networks like GSM, GPRS, and UMTS, as well as all IP next generation networks like the IMS or LTE and the Internet and web applications. For communicating with legacy GSM-based mobile networks, TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway exchanges USSD messages embedded in SS7 protocol stack mobile application part or MAP via SIGTRAN or legacy E1 links. SIGTRAN is SS7 over IP using Stream Control Transmission Protocol or SCTP as transfer protocol. This is portrayed on the upper left side of this network topology diagram example. On the other hand, for communicating with next generation network like the IMS or LTE, USSD needs to be carried within something different than an SS7 based protocol. TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway follows 3GPP standards for this, in order to become a better long-term solution. Therefore, it uses SIP. SIP interface can either communicate USSD messages with TelScale Enterprise RESTCOM Connect for following USSD RESTCOM Visual Designer project logic and interact via ICTP or SIP with third-party applications, or to do so with SIP application servers in the IMS and through them and call session control functions with LTE's Evolved Packet Core in order to delivering USSD messages to users under LTE coverage. This mechanism will not only be available in LTE, but 5G networks and beyond. In summary, this slide graphically shows how TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway exchanges USSD messages between users and applications residing in heterogeneous networks. TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway translates USSD messages embedded in SS7 map operations to SIP or vice versa, according to 3GPP specs for either sides. As USSD payload is carried in XML within an HTTP message, for the HTTP interface as explained in Module 6 of this course, in SIP messages it is carried as part of the body of the message embedded as content type application/vnd.3gpp.ussd plus XML. On this slide, a signal call flow example of mobile originated USSD or pool USSD is detailed. Attached to a GSM-based legacy network, a user starts a USSD session by dialing a USSD shortcode like *123#. Once the message arrives to the mobile circuit switch core network, The USSD messages is routed to the USSD gateway embedded in a map message, with the HLR or HSS as the relaying entity. The STP or signaling transport is the network's adjacent node of the USSD gateway for its global title translation capabilities. In other words, the STP understands how to translate and route messages to the proper entities based on its routing tables. Once the USSD begin message arrives to the USSD gateway embedded in a map process and structure SS request operation, TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway, following its already configured routing rules, will act accordingly. If these routing rules establish that *123# needs to be directed via SIP to RESCOM Connect's IP address, it will then need to translate the USSD begin message within map unstructured SS request operation to a SIP invite as for 3GPP TS 24.390. This is what is shown next. For the sake of simplicity, SIP messages of the invite ACK transactions, although are graphically displayed, they won't be covered in detail. Please refer to TelScale SIP servlet course for such. A Wireshark trace example is shown in the screen right now, with details of a SIP invite message routed RESCOM Connect. As it is highlighted in blue, the SIP invite message carries the USSD message in its message body. Content type header field must indicate this message is of type application vnd.3gpp.ussd plus XML. The message body then carries the USSD payload in XML. The USSD string value carries the USSD shortcode that initiates the service. This is *123#. Message type must be always process unstructured SS request_request in a SIP invite message for pool USSD. After RESCOM Connect processes the corresponding USSD project, it answers back to the USSD gateway in a SIP info message. A Wireshark trace example is shown in the screen right now, with details of the SIP info message routed from RESCOM Connect to the USSD gateway. The USSD message is highlighted in messages body XML payload. USSD string value carries the USSD message sent to the user by RESCOM through the USSD gateway. In this case, the user will receive a menu message on its display, whose text asserts "Welcome to your balance inquiry service." For voice, press 1, for data, press 2. Message type must be unstructured SS request_request to indicate that this message must be converted into a MAC continue message. The USSD gateway then translates the latter SIP info message into the corresponding map unstructured SS request within a TCAP continue message. The text is then displayed in the user's handset, which in turn replies back with an option. This reply is received at the USSD gateway analogously as previous and translates it to SIP to route it to RESCOM Connect, where the service logic will proceed accordingly. As it can be seen in the Wireshark trace example shown in the screen at the moment, the user replied with option 2 as for the USSD string value carried in the XML payload of the SIP info message directed to RESCOM Connect. Assuming that RESCOM Connect makes use of an external service to retrieve the user's data balance, for example, via REST web service with an online charging system via HTTP, it then needs to send the information back to the user. In this example, it's assumed that the service closes the USSD session with this message. Therefore, a USSD byte needs to be sent from RESCOM Connect to the USSD gateway. As it can be seen In the Wi-Fi trace example shown in the screen at the moment, the text message to be sent to the user is "Your data balance is 0.731 megabytes. Thank you." As for the value of USSD string in the XML payload of the zip body, accordingly, the message type value is process instructor SS request underscore response. This zip by message is translated to corresponding map process instructor SSS request within a map end message, and the USSD session is closed. On this slide, a signal flow example of mobile-originated USSD session established with third-party application through RESCOM across S7 and IP-based networks is shown. It is analogous to the previous slide, but shown differently. A USSD begin embedded in a map message is sent from the user to TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway, originated in a GSM-based network. TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway then converts this map message into a zip invite and directs it to the RESCOM Connect server. The zip invite is received at RESCOM, and accordingly to this USSD RESCOM Visual Designer project, it will act accordingly. Then a zip info is sent back to the TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway, which then will need to translate it to a map message where the USSD will go in a TCAP continue message. Then the user replies back in a continue message. The map USSD continue is then translated in TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway to a zip info message directed to RESCOM. RESCOM, according to its service logic, then needs to make an HTTP post request, for example to an online charging system, which replies back through HTTP. Then RESCOM closes the USSD session by sending to TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway a zip by message. TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway translates this zip by message into a TCAP and USSD message embedded in map. This releases the resources and closes the USSD session. On this slide, a signal call flow example of network-initiated USSD or push USSD is detailed. This is a USSD dialog example, so an answer from the user is expected. A RESCOM client initiates the USSD project by sending an HTTP post to RESCOM Connect, which in turn translates the HTTP XML payload into a zip message. The XML payload will carry the USSD message to be conveyed to the user via the USSD gateway. A zip invite is then transferred from RESCOM Connect to the USSD gateway. As it can be seen from the Wireshark trace shown in the screen right now, it's about a loan service example via USSD. The application detected that the user has no more balance left in its account and is offering a loan to the user. As a reply from the user is expected, the message type is instructor SS request underscore request. The USSD gateway then needs to transfer this message to the user that is residing in a GSM-based legacy network. Therefore, the SIP invite needs to be translated to an SS7 map message. For network-initiated USSD, TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway first inquires the core network node that is providing service to the user. Consequently, it performs a map send routing info for a short message inquired to the HLR by using the MS-ISDN carried in the SIP invite request line. After retrieving either the IMSI and the global title of the serving entity, normally the mobile switching server or VLR at which the target subscriber is attached to, it proceeds with the map and structure SS request as indicated in the originating SIP invite message. After the user receives the message, it replies back requesting for the loan, as it can be seen in the Wireshark trace shown in the screen right now. The user pressed 1. Then the map message is translated to the corresponding SIP info message and routed back to RESTCOM Connect. According to the service logic, RESTCOM Connect then applies the loan via an external service, for example via REST web service within an online charging system through HTTP, and then informs the user that the loan is under process through a SIP info carrying the USSD message and its message body in the XML payload. In this case, the user is informed that it will receive an SMS shortly and no answer back is expected from the user. So, an empty TCAP message is routed back to the USSD gateway, which in turn translates into a SIP info TCAP message. SIP info message to be routed back to RESTCOM Connect as an acknowledgement of the user's message reception. In the meantime, HTTP messages are being exchanged back and forth between RESTCOM Connect and the corresponding application for the loan application. To release signaling resources, a SIP byte is then sent to the USSD gateway, which in turn translates it to a map process and structured RSS request in a TCAP end message. This slide shows the other push USSD use case, a USSD notify service. In this case, an application needs to send a USSD message not expecting any reply back from the user whatsoever. In this example, the application sends an HTTP post to RESTCOM Connect, which in turn, and according to the service logic triggered by this HTTP post, initiates a push USSD via SIP invite to be conveyed to the user via the USSD gateway. Opposite to previous slide example, where a dialog was established, as this is a simple USSD notify example, the message type must be unstructured SS notify underscore request. Then the USSD gateway interprets that this push USSD service will not establish a dialog but just make a notification to the user via USSD. Therefore, a different map operation will be required. Instead of map unstructured SS request in a TCAP begin message, a map unstructured SS notify will be used to convey the message to the user. But, as for any network-initiated USSD, TelScale Enterprise USSD Gateway first inquires the core network node that is providing service to the user. Consequently, it performs a map send routing info for a short message inquired to the HLR by using the MS-ISDN carried in the SIP invite request line. After retrieving either the IMSI and the global title of the serving entity, normally the mobile switching center or VLR at which the target subscriber is attached to, it proceeds with the map unstructured SS notify as indicated in the originating SIP invite message. As it can be seen from the Wireshark trace shown in the screen right now, this service example is about informing the user that it has crossed a load balance inquiry. A load balance threshold. As it can be from As it can be seen from the Wireshark trace shown in the screen right now, this service example is about informing the user it has crossed a load balance threshold. The message is shown in the SIP invite USSD string value as you have no more credit to continue the call. Your balance is 0.02. After the user receives the message, no answer back is expected from the user. So, an empty TCAP message is routed back to the USSD gateway, which in turn translates it into a SIP info message to be routed back to RESTCOM Connect as an acknowledgement of the user's message reception. In the meantime, HTTP messages are being exchanged back and forth between RESTCOM Connect and the corresponding application. To release signaling resources, a SIP byte is then sent to the USSD gateway, which in turn translates it to a map and structure SS request in a TCAP end message.